all the like deep technical details. But I'm definitely trying to explain what a smart contract is, what an NFT actually means, what the contract behind it looks like, and how you can interact with that just using the front end that's seen on Etherscan and other chain scanners, chain explorers.
Sounds exciting.
I hope so. It's actually it's not that exciting because it's so much numbers and small text boxes, but it's exciting to see what's happening there. By the way, I didn't ever mention that. If somebody of you ever heard of the Rinkeby testnet on Ethereum, and maybe you already got some tokens on it. If not, just Google it while I'm talking. In the end, you will be able to mint a Rinkeby testnet NFT on our contract here. You don't have to follow that, and getting Rinkeby ETH is not that simple. But just in case you have a Rinkeby account or some Rinkeby ETH on you, you will be able to follow me and mint an NFT, which is absolutely worthless, I can promise. But it's definitely fun seeing that this is working.
All right, looking at the numbers, I think we stopped at 65. So it seems everyone who is here. So yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Shall I start?
Please do.
Then I'll do. Okay, please mute yourself, and I hope that everything is in sync. As said, we're screen sharing on Zoom and audio sharing on Discord. The chances that there's maybe a 10 or 2 seconds delay between both. So I'm trying to talk and switch slides very slowly. If something goes wrong, please text me on Discord so I can see that, or just tell me on the speaker stage. Okay, so as I just explained, I'm talking about interacting with NFTs using nothing but Chain Explorer, whatever that means, right? Thank you for joining in that large numbers. I really love seeing so many people here. Yeah. One thing that also can go wrong is the browser, actually. Sometimes it's losing connections. If that's happening, I will switch screen share to another browser. Bear with me if this is happening, okay? So, about me. My name is actually not El Mariachi, as you might have guessed, but I like Mexican music and I like that movie, which is from 1992 and definitely worth looking. My real name is Stefan Adolf, and I started collecting NFTs back in 2021. The most prominent one being that little cool cat here. It has been number 3973, which I actually, well, somebody bought it from my account after bidding on it. And I must say, I'm a little bit, I'm sad that this one has been bought. This is why I bought others, for example, Dead Fellas and the Deborah Dino that you're seeing, and Fly Frogs. I even have Sad Girls on me. But next to that, I'm a full stack Web3 developer. So I'm doing Web3 all day. I'm not only following Twitter, but I'm also coding all that stuff. And I'm following the NFT scene or the NFT contract scene since 2019. So I've been tinkering with CryptoKitties in the beginning, and I moved forward with all the stuff that's happening in that whole ecosystem. Okay, so first of all, before we can start, let me remind you, this is for non-developers. So if you are actually for non-technicians, I try to make this as non-technical as possible. But if you know your way around, you might get a little bit bored. Please don't shout, I'm bored, because you know all the stuff that I'm telling you now. I want to make sure that everybody is on the same level. I hope that everybody still can hear me because my iPad just shut off, but here we go. So first of all, the most important thing on Ethereum or on blockchains at all, but I only take care about Ethereum right now. It's more or less the same on Solana, on Tezos, and all the other blockchains, even on Polkadot. It's more or less the same, even on Bitcoin. Everything starts with an account, and an account is more or less what you see at the bottom of the slide. Volker, you can find that on the whiteboard channel. If you go to the whiteboard channel, there's a Zoom link you can join. So an account is something that identifies your private key. It's not identifying you as a person. It's something that other people can set money to. And it looks quite long and it looks quite numberish, and there are some alphabetic numbers in it. This is why this is because it's something that's called a hexadecimal number. It's not your usual decimal number system. It's a 16-based number system, and this is why there are letters in it. But I mean, this is getting too technical, right? Only the 0x, if you're wondering what 0x means, this is only denoting, okay, the following characters are meant as to be interpreted as a hexadecimal number. Now, what is an account on Ethereum? And so a so-called externally owned account is something that you all might use if you opened a wallet on MetaMask. An externally owned account is the hash of the public key, of a private key, of a keychain that's derived by one random seed that's represented by a mnemonic seed phrase that you created when you created your MetaMask account. Lots of words. You don't have to understand that. I only want to make sure that you know that there's lots of stuff going on that finally yields an address that you control by a private key. This is all about public-private key cryptography, right? Now, this is what in Ethereum speak, it's called an externally owned account. This means this is controlled by a human or some machine that can act as a human. But in contrast, there's something called the contract account. This is also existing on the Ethereum blockchain, for example. And this is an account that has a private key. A smart contract never holds private key because smart contracts cannot create or cannot keep secrets. This is why they don't have a seed or something. And this is why, but they still have to be addressable, and this is why they also get accounts. And this happens when they are deployed, whatever that means. So if somebody creates a contract on the chain, we come to that. Those accounts also get those contracts also get an account. Those accounts are represented by those addresses. And as you know, on blockchains, everybody can send funds to those addresses. So you can basically send money between two accounts using their addresses. Something else that should be obvious, but it's not obvious for everybody. One ETH or one basic blockchain currency is, of course, divided into a much smaller fraction. Somebody's painting on my screen. This looks funny. If you could please leave my Zoom screen alone. General T, I think you have to remove the rights for other people to interact with that whole thing. Okay, one ETH can be divided into smaller units, which are called Y, whatever that is. And actually, this is a very large number, but you must imagine that 1 gazillion Y is representing one ETH. This will become more interesting later. Chris Nagy, this looks very interesting. There is even a unit converter that you can use on Etherscan that allows you to convert numbers that you come up with to smaller units, which might come in handy later. Okay, so what are chain explorers? I already opened one just now. Chain explorers let you browse accounts, contracts, transactions, data, and events. Those are more or less the building blocks of all stuff that's happening on a blockchain. And those chain explorers, as you might have guessed, are not decentralized. Services. So this Etherscan thing here obviously is a domain that's owned by somebody who has quite a bit of money, I must admit. But it's still not really decentralized because they are scanning the chain for us and they are giving us some information about the chain. But this is not the chain that runs on your machine. This is why, this is Etherscan, right? Everybody's using it. This is why it might be quite trustful. But I can assure you it's not 100% trustful. 1% does mean you have to run a blockchain node on your own and look at it. But I can also assure you I've never seen that anything was wrong on Etherscan. So Etherscan is a really good view on what's happening on chain, and it displays the state of the blockchain for usual people. This is why everybody's using this kind of stuff. Another thing that Etherscan is allowing, so I didn't show that actually, but maybe you know that. On Etherscan, you can look at the blockchain. So let's look at that. You can see the blocks, for example, and there are lots of numbers going on. But this is the latest block on Ethereum, and it contains how many transactions. Where are they? There were 132 transactions going to the block, doing lots of things. This is how a blockchain looks like, right? And latest at that point, everybody who's not a developer says, "Oh my God, okay, what is all that stuff?" I don't want to explain all of that to you. I just want to tell you on Etherscan, you can see everything that's happening on chain in quite a convenient way without knowing exactly how all this stuff comes together. But what Etherscan can also do for you, and this is basically, this is fundamentally the basic of this talk now, they allow developers to upload and verify the source code of smart contracts. And they're also offering interactive forms to directly interact with contracts. This is exactly what I'm going to show you today. And this is something that's pretty unique to Etherscan, I would say. So if you go to some of those other block explorers, which are really great, they usually don't allowing you that. So Etherscan is more or less unique in that many people are uploading their source code to this block explorer, to this blockchain explorer, so you can interact with that. And this is why I'm mostly referring to Etherscan. It might be possible that other block scanners or block explorers will do the same stuff for you. Okay. So I mentioned it 10,000 times already, but what's a smart contract after all? And now I don't want to dig in too deep into all the developer details, but as a developer, you know that so if you want to talk to a computer, you usually write source code, which is the code that explains what should happen on certain conditions. And then you're executing a step which is called compilation. So you're compiling that source code to some other kind of code. And this is code that can be interpreted by a processor. Now, usually the processors that you know are those processors in your iPad, in your iPhone, in your computer, or anywhere, right? Those are processors. Those processors can only process bytecode. As I said, this bytecode they can only process machine code, actually. And this machine code cannot be written by a human because we humans cannot read machine code. And this is why we have high-level languages. In those languages, we are writing smart contracts or any kind of program, and we're compiling that. And then we are asking a CPU or some kind of processor to execute that. And a smart contract is nothing but compiled bytecode that's written on chain and that can be executed on something called the EVM. In the case of Ethereum, in Solana, it's Rust that developers are writing, and this is deployed and run directly on the nodes and on Polkadot. It's also written in Rust, but executed by a different engine. But basically, it's always the same. So it's always some code that has been compiled and deployed, means written onto the chain itself. So you can see the machine code on chain. Now, those virtual machines that are running on the blockchain are executing this bytecode once transactions hit them. So once somebody sends a transaction to a smart contract, that means somebody invokes a function on that smart contract. That's basically what a transaction is doing. That this kind of interaction can be a transfer of funds, a minting of an NFT. Those are all transactions. Now, you might have heard the term, and I don't want to explain in detail, but smart contracts burn the so-called gas, at least in the Ethereum case, when they execute. And this is the gas is there to ensure that not everybody can write at the same time. Otherwise, that whole thing would break down anyway. And gas is just a monetary, or not even that, but more or less an economical value that ensures that there's always access to the whole chain, because execution costs money after all. And this is why the execution of smart contracts on Ethereum costs some money, which is denoted in gas points. The most expensive thing happening on a blockchain is storing data. So every time you store something on a blockchain, this has to be replicated to all those blockchain nodes. And this is why effectively it's always expensive. Expensive by different means, but in the Ethereum case, it's mostly expensive because of the gas you have to pay for it. And let's keep it like that. Only thing I want to mention is that smart contracts keep something called the state. And this is what you will hear around all the time. State is something that just means storage. It means, okay, I know that Stefan owns the NFT of Cool Cats number 3973 or something, right? This is on a high level, what state means. And the state is changing every time new transactions are incoming. Every time blocks are minted, blocks are mined on Ethereum, lots of transactions are executed, and they are modifying the internal state of those smart contracts. Now, finally, all accounts, which means those externally owned accounts, which means us humans, and all other contracts can interact with other smart contracts, which is quite awesome. And this is exactly why this Ethereum thing took off in 2016, because it means that you can build machines or functions or code that talks to other code and enforces rules upon them transactions are executed. This is what's the magic of smart contracts, right? And now, finally, to what everybody's interested in. What's a non-fungible token technically? I mean, everybody of you might be very well aware what a non-fungible token is after all. But what is it technically? Technically, a non-fungible token on Ethereum is a smart contract that follows the schema that I'm showing over here. Now, this looks very codish, right? Don't read everything. I just want to say this interface, as it's called, everything that's colored is called an interface. How to interact with that smart contract. This interface is called ERC 721. It's just a specification. And it looks like this. No, this is the website. No, it's the website. It links to the specification. But if you look at the official website, you'll see that they're basically putting there exactly the same stuff that I put there. Lots of functions. If your smart contracts fulfills those functions, then it's called an NFT, technically. That's basically it. Now, how do those smart contracts look like? If you go to a blockchain explorer and you know the address of a contract, you can just type the address in the search bar. and then you'll find the contract. Now on Etherscan, you have a little tab here called contract with a little green arrow on it. And that contract tab usually shows you only the bytecode. In this case, it's different because this is a contract that I have deployed. But let me show how it actually looks like. At the very bottom, you can see that. This is how the smart contract looks like. This is only numbers. This is the machine code of that smart contract, okay? This is what the developer sent there once he compiled that. Now, Etherscan doesn't know anything, or cannot know what all those numbers means. Even Etherscan isn't clever enough to do that. This is why they allow us developers to upload our source code, and then they are compiling that. And if the same bytecode comes into existence, so if they see that all the code that has been written here results in the same bytecode that I just showed you, they say, wow, okay, this is exactly the source code. Stefan is right. So we can display the source code he sent to us because he has put the bytecode on the blockchain. And this means this must be the correct source code. And this, when this is happening, you all can see how my smart contract looks like in code. And another aspect of that is you can interact with this one directly. You can do this on your own machine, but this is not really technical, but you can do this using Etherscan. So you have read and write contract tabs here, which allow you to interact with the methods or with the functions in my smart contract, which is an NFT. But first, what is it really? So the ERC21 standard that I just have shown you is enforcing one implementation detail that everybody is implementing the same way, and that is so an NFT is registering a one-to-one ownership relationship. It is very core. It just says, okay, a token ID is maybe a number 20, 30, 45, 42. I don't know. And this number maps to an owner address. And in the Cool Cats example, it was saying 3973 belongs to my address, my EOA, the address that I am owning as Stefan. Now, another thing that NFTs can do is they can transfer tokens to another address. And this is very simple, as you can imagine. The only transaction that they need to be sent to is, okay, I'm the owner of 3973. Please change the owner of 3973 to, well, somebody else. And that's basically just updating this owner address on this mapping in the smart contract. That's basically everything. This is how NFTs are defined technically under the hood. It's just a mapping between a number and an owner address. That's it. Now, technical detail is also they can be approved to, so smart contracts can be approved to transfer tokens on behalf of their owner, which means that some other smart contract can transfer your NFT without you knowing that. This is maybe you have seen that already. Sometimes you have to open, or MetaMask goes up, and then you have to approve some ownership transfer, whatever. By doing that, a smart contract can take care of your NFT. But that's basically it for the basic ERC 721 standard. This is everything that's in that ERC 721. And maybe, let's skip this. Maybe you notice, well, there is no mint function on it, right? So how do they come into existence? And here comes the secret. ERC 721 doesn't define how new NFTs are created. This mint function that many people write in there is totally up to us developers. So we define how minting, how creating new NFTs is happening. Even names and symbols are not default in the ERC 721 standard. This is something that many people put on it, but you cannot be sure that this is always there. The last thing that is really important is that so-called token URI, and this is what I definitely want to show you tonight. Token URI allows you to get a little bit more meaning about the NFT that you are owning. Now, let's have a look at some very prominent contracts. I have Deadfellas, Bored Apes, and Cold Cats, and you might notice that they all look the same. So, all of those, so those are the real things on mainnet. This is exactly the stuff that we all operate on if you operate on Ethereum. And maybe you're confused why the code button isn't there. There is a little feature here in Etherscan, which is called the so-called token tracker. Token trackers only can interact with the contract, but if you want to read the contract, you have to go to the contract behind the token tracker. It's basically exactly the same page, but this contains more details. This is why I'm going here. And here we can read the source code of Cool Cats. Now, I won't scroll through that and explain this kind of stuff because there's lots of source code involved. But what I would like to show you is a little trick that I'm using all the time. If you exchange that IO of Etherscan IO to dev.net and hit return, a view is opening that we developers know is Visual Studio Code, which lets you read the source code in a much nicer way. This is actually an amazing service. I don't know who built that, but this is so crazy. It really lets you read code in a much nicer way than reading this on Etherscan directly. The only thing that I want to show you here is that the CoolCats contract is basically, so this means it's extending something that's an ERC 721 enumerable, which means it basically is an ERC 721 enumerable, whatever that means. But it means that this is a contract that's ERC 721 compatible. And what you can see on the CoolCats contract is, if you look closely, I don't want to go into details here, but there were 4 addresses, and guess what? Those were the founder addresses, and they put themselves upon construction, and they minted themselves when it has been constructed the first 4 NFTs of that collection. This was the first thing that happened. They get the first 4 cats. And this is something you can see if you start reading source code. I find this quite funny, quite insightful actually. So one thing you can do on those contracts, since they are more or less all following the same ideas, you can, for example, look at the URIs that are behind those NFTs. But before doing so, let's click on some trivial things, like the name. You see, it's CoolCats, and the owner of the contract is this address, which is pretty rich, I'd assume. The current price, how much is one CoolCat? And now here it comes. It's quite a large number, which is not true. You can click on it, and then you can see it just means, okay, 0.02 ETH. This has been the mint price of CoolCats once in May. Now it's much more expensive, right? And you can see a symbol. So this is something that you can use immediately. You can just look at some details of the contract just by clicking on those numbers. Now, what does that metadata mean, actually? Metadata has been invented to give those numbers, which point to addresses, some kind of meaning. And this metadata is basically what you as artists will see as the real value of NFTs. This metadata is basically nothing else than a so-called JSON data structure, which is just a plain data structure telling you about the real value, the visual representation of those NFTs. And that's exactly what you can also see if you type it in here, 3973. This has been my CoolCat. What is giving you, and this is now, I just interacted with the smart contract in a reading way. I just read state from the from the blockchain. And the result of that token URI of 3973 is this here. This is a URL, right? So this is something you can put in your browser window. Let's do that. If you go there, you'll find this. This is the metadata. This is a JSON structure. This is why it's written JSON. In raw, it looks like that, but nobody can read that. This is why I prefer looking at like this. And it tells you a little bit about the number 3973 of that collection. It has some traits. It has blue cat skin. It has a bow in its head. It's epaulette black as a shirt, and so on and so on. But what's really important are the image tags here. So usually you will always find an image on all those NFTs that are representing images, which is obvious. And those are, well, they can link anywhere. This one is linking to something called IPFS.io, which I come to in a moment. But what's really important to note is that the result of this query was a URL that everybody might expect. It's called api.coolcatsnft.com, which means that this CoolCats project basically is in charge of how the metadata looks like. And this could become a little bit dangerous because they are in control of the server. They can tell you anything about 3973. They can even change the image. And this is possibly dangerous. Not really dangerous, but it might change the cat, and you're losing the cat picture if they change that. This is why if you look at the token URI here on the NFTs you buy, you can instantly see if this is a trustful project. And CoolCats, from my perspective, isn't that trustful, but they have a good reason to do that because they're pointing to their own server. There are different ways to do that. So first of all, let's see if the image is loaded. There it is. That has been my goodbye, my cat. It was fun with you. Look at that, fellas. At that, fellas. The token URI, I'm not sure exactly. Let's use number 10, number 1000. No, it's the same, right? They also point to their server. Let's look at Bored Apes, and now it should look different. Sorry. Token URI of Bored Ape number 1234 looks like this. And now you might notice a slight difference here. This is not really a URL. This is called IPFS, whatever that means, : / and some very long string and some number. if you put that...
Stefan, just 1 second. 5 minutes left from the screen sharing.
Which is good. Yeah. You already know all the basics. If you type in this thing into your browser window, oh my God, this usually won't work. Because your browser, in my browser it works because I'm a developer, but in your browser it will just crash. Because your browser doesn't know what IPFS is. IPFS, the so-called interplanetary file system, is a completely different way to distribute data. And if you want to resolve this on your own machine, you can do this. You can go to a so-called public gateway, IPFS.io being one, add an IPFS middle fix here, and leave the rest like it is. If you go there, you will get the metadata and another image link that will link to the image of that Bored Ape. Let's go there. Using HTTP, IPFS.io, IPFS. Here we go, and it shows Bored Ape. And this is something that I just got out of the contract directly. It was the other one. No need to use OpenSea or something. You can read this information on-chain directly. I wanted to tell you about IPFS, but I'm skipping this now. You can Google that on your own. One thing I wanted to show you finally is how to mint on-chain. Because, I don't know, there are lots of drops out there and they will give you whitelists and some, I don't know, some price off or some discounts. But you can actually, you can mint that stuff on your own if you know how the mint method works. Now, today, mint methods are usually quite hard to understand. But in the old times, and in the old days, and still to today, some of them are still open. And this is the case with the contract that I've written for you. So this is a smart contract called the Foo token, which I created today morning. And it has only one token here. So there's only one token on it. You can read it. You could say, how many tokens are there? There's only one. And who's owning this one? Who's the owner of 0? This is an address. And I can tell you this is one of my addresses. You don't know that, but you can trust me. This is me. Now, if you want to mint this one, I'm sharing this already in our Discord whiteboard channel. And if you have Rickaby on you can follow me now. I'm clicking Write Contract and Connect to Web3. And then I'm connecting to my MetaMask, which you cannot see now because MetaMask is not shared on the screen share, I assume. And now I'm connected with some address, okay? And the mint method of that contract is open. I only have to put in the right amount of money, and I forgot how much that was. Okay, how much was it? Let's look at the code. Maybe the code is telling us. In the code, and I showed you that, right? You can go here, DevNet. Let's see. How much is the minimum price? I said it somewhere. No, here it is. This is the minimum minting price. This is the money I have to bring along because it's not listed here. Or is it listed here maybe? There's a price. Okay, sorry. Here it is. This one. And I'll be very careful. If you put this in here, this is wrong. Now you will pay 20 gazillion ether, which will make you a poor man. Don't do that. You have to put it in ether. And since I don't know what that means in ether, I have to compute it on my own. And this is something I showed you this on Etherscan directly. Etherscan, you can use the unit converter to do so. Let's see where that was. More unit converter. There it is. No, I just put that. Okay, no, it's not working that way. No, this is the Y price. This is why you put this in the Y field, of course, because this represents Y, the smallest unit of ether, and then you get that ether price. It's 0.02. Now you say, okay, please send 0.02 ether to the mint method and see what's happening. My MetaMask just came up with that value. I'm confirming the transaction now. Now you can view a transaction as you might be used to, right? So you can see that it takes a while, and then I will end up with one token. So while this is running, let's go to another slide. Right, okay. I can also show you the last thing, how to transfer things once this has been minted. And I got some more slides here, but I'm not going to show them anyway, because they are maybe getting too complicated. So the transaction is through. Oh, it's indexing. This might take a while. Okay, once this has finished, you can actually send NFTs you own by calling this method. You can say from your address to another address, which token ID do we want to send, and leave data empty. Just leave it empty. This has no meaning, at least not for many people. And by writing that, you can transfer NFTs between your accounts without doing that on OpenSea. I mean, OpenSea is also free for direct transfers, but maybe there's a reason to not use OpenSea, so you can do this directly in this interface for any NFT you own, because all of those ERC 721 NFTs will have this method. So let's see. It's still indexing. Success. Who's owning? No, read contract. What's the total supply? Let's reload this page. What's the total supply? It's 3. Somebody else also minted something. Awesome. Who's the owner of token number 2? This guy. This is not me. Congratulations, whoever you are. But this is me. This is my account. Exactly. Now you can see that I did this transaction. I have no thank you slide here, actually. This is why I could just show you very quickly what I wanted to show with you anyway. So shared storefront NFTs would be a thing. I'll share the slide deck with you anyway afterwards. Things to look out for, and how marketplaces basically work in contract speak, and how an atomic match in OpenSea looks like. Yeah, as said, no thank you slide, but thank you anyway for listening. I hope everybody enjoyed my little Zoom talk here, and yeah, let's have a chat now on Discord.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Actually, I was recording the screen share and also hopefully the voice as well. So we will share that soon after the meetup is ended. Let's zone into questions on whiteboards, on the whiteboard channel.
Let's see what has been written there. Okay, iPad users had a bad time. I think you have to raise your hand, right, to get on the stage, or you can just post it on the whiteboard channel. Oh, there we go.
Maybe everyone's a bit shy.
We got some feedback at least, which is good. Thank you very much. You're welcome. This explanation is valid for any kind of NFT. So I just showed those image NFTs, which is obvious. And I said there is no real agreed on standard for metadata. This is when you open another NFT, which is maybe representing music or some animated art or even on-chain NFTs, this token URI will display something differently, but you will definitely be able to make some sense out of it just by reading it. So some of them has an animation URL on it, some have an external URL on it, so you can see it on a different website. Some of them even have code in it, like code you could execute if you know how to execute that. So yeah, it's more or less open to the developer of that NFT collection, what he puts in there. Also for ERC 1155. ERC 1155 is very related to 721, but you definitely know that this means you have you can have copies of one, or is a restricted amount of copies. And in ERC 1155, you also have a token URI. I'm not exactly sure if it's also called token URI, but it's definitely very similar. You will always also get metadata for an 1155 token ID, which is representing all the prints of the token in that sense. But they're usually not using attributes anymore. They're using something called properties, which looks exactly the same, but it's more convenient to use those properties structure because it's internationalized, IATable, and there are a little bit more features possible if you use properties. But from a semantic point of view, it's exactly the same on 1155. Can you please again explain the minting process? Yes. Minting is not defined on NFTs, which is curious, right? If you think about it, I mean, it's all about minting, but minting is not part of the standard. Minting is just a function, and every developer might come up with their own idea of how minting could work. And in the very simple case that I just showed you with my own baby contract, I just left it open so everybody could mint. Everybody who sends along to 0.02 ETH can mint a new NFT. But of course, and minting NFT means you're calling that method, sending 0.02 ETH along. And how you do that, I just showed you on Etherscan. You just put that number in there and submit the transaction using a MetaMask wallet, and then you get the next NFT. And even the definition of what next NFT means is not defined. Currently, we're used to there's a board ape 1, a board ape 2, a board ape 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. this is not necessarily this is not necessary. So NFTs could have any number, which might be even random more or less, or those numbers could have a meaning. So every time you call the mint method, a new number is created, which has never been used before, and you are set as the owner. And that's basically it. The contract only stores that this number now has that owner, which is you. That's basically it. Yeah, Splice, try it out. I never called it, but Splice is the project I'm working on. Everybody has to go to get Splice.io and try it out. Thank you very much for mentioning that. Any NFT projects you're working on? Yes, Splice. Splice is great. Absolutely. Okay, spoiler alert. There's a very good old friend of mine called Sven. His father is taking pictures of chemical crystallines using a microscope. This is a very long story, but they look just plain amazing. And I asked him, well, would you like to make an NFT out of that? And said, what is an NFT? So during the last 3 or 4 weeks, I was explaining to Sven how NFTs are working. And I think we're going live on Polygon maybe this Sunday. This is a restricted collection with 120 pieces, just photographies of his father and his microscope. They look really awesome. But yeah, this is nothing I would like to advertise in that sense. It's just a pet project of ours. When to use ERC 1155's pros and cons? ERC, so if you know Euler beats, for example, Euler, like Euler, I just type it here, okay, Euler beats. If you look at those, this is one of the first ERC 1155 contracts that have been found in the wild. This is like records. This is a brilliant idea. It's generative music, but don't explain all the details. Euler Beats is basically a collection of, let's call it 12 records that they are selling during one epoch. So you get 12 music pieces, 12 songs in that sense. And everybody, so you don't own that song like owning that NFT, right? You're owning a print of that song. So every song can be printed 50 or 100 times, and you can buy a print of that song. This is the big difference between ERC 721 and 1155. You can actually build NFTs, so the default old NFTs like ERC 721 NFTs with 1155. You can do that by restricting the prints only one, right? Then you have again an NFT. But they are a little bit more gas efficient in some ways. But I guess this is not really helping you if you would like to just do it for gas reasons. I mean, the pros are really like you have not really a fractionalization in that sense, but you have the opportunity to own or to give ownership to one NFT to several people. This is basically what 1155 is doing. Do you think that videos on YouTube, like the one from Hashlips, can be useful for starting out with creating smart contracts? I heard about Hashlips. I cannot remember what it was saying. But I didn't share this one. I shared it earlier somewhere else, but I shared it right now here in that channel. There is something that also helped me building this thing. Copy link, which is called the 721 Studio. So you can just click your contract together. Good luck deploying that on mainnet. Be very careful deploying anything on mainnet because it's really expensive. And if you do anything wrong, like opening the mints too early and maybe you have an error in there, this can really like mint everything at once and then you don't get anything. This could happen, but I can tell you the code that I've seen coming out of Studio 721 is just awesome. So those people do a pretty good job putting together the pieces quite in a quite good way. So I would definitely consider it for simple collections to use just the plain stuff that's of Studio 721. There's no coding needed. You just click on your features you want and then they generate code for you. What do you think? What gives NFTs value when not from famous projects? What are relevant KPIs to value NFTs? I mean, floor price isn't that bad, but floor price can be tampered, right? It's called wash trading. Don't do that. This is like it's definitely not you're not going by the law in the US if you do that. In the US, you can go to jail if you do that, and this is for real. So, but in a nutshell, wash trading would mean that you are selling NFTs to yourself using new accounts, new addresses. Nobody knows that is you. You're just selling that, pushing up the floor price just by adding higher prices. So again, this against the law. You can go to jail if they find you in the US. This is happening. Be very careful if you want to try that. But what gives NFTs value is community access. This is one of the things. One of my favorite answers actually. So I'm a member of Developer DAO, and you only get into Developer DAO if you had a Genesis NFT. And this allowed me access to, I don't know, 300 Discord channels on Developer DAO, so we can, I don't know, exchange developer things there, open up a developer ecosystem. This is one of the most valuable utilities of NFTs that I've seen so far. But besides that, it's really like the scarcity. So if there are only 10,000 Bored Apes, even though I don't like Bored Apes, right? So what? This is apes having cigarettes or what, or laser eyes. This is not really the value. The value is that they are so scarce. And Paris Hilton, I don't know, some celebrities own them. And this makes them so, okay, I also want to have one. If you have one, you are somebody. This is exactly the same case with Rolex watches, with Lamborghini cars. It's basically exactly the same. There is no value in the Bored Ape itself. The value is the scarcity of this special collection. And some collections win, some don't. So I haven't figured out the rules yet. But if you're lucky, you'll find them. How long did it take you to gain this knowledge? Why did you gain it? And what is your original professional background? I'm a developer. I'm a developer for more than 25 years, I guess. So I did lots of stuff, and don't laugh now, but I did lots of PHP projects. Right now I'm doing lots of TypeScript stuff. I worked for an agency for the last 4 years as developer ambassador. So I've been talking on conferences, organizing meetups. Maybe somebody of you have been members of Coding Berlin or Coding Earth. This is what I have been doing, but we're not doing this anymore. And I'm just a software developer. But how I gained all this stuff, I can tell you, I went to lots of hackathons. I went to so many hackathons during the last 4 years because it's been part of my job. That I learned so much from other people, and of course I read a lot. And on hackathons, you have to solve problems during 48 hours. Good luck. You really have to do things. This is not about thinking, should we do that? Shouldn't we do that? You have to do them. And this is the best advice I can give everybody. Just do it. Maybe not really on mainnet. This is really expensive, but on Rinkeby, this is a good advice. You can try everything on your own. Just do it and you will learn. This is what I definitely can tell you. So minting is basically So minting is basically if this then that. It basically is okay. Minting is basically if this then that process. Now I got it. Yes, I mean, yeah, the whole smart contract is an if this then that process, right? So it reacts on input. You get some transaction coming in saying, I want to mint something, and it checks if the price is good, if you're allowed to do so, if there are if you're over the limit, and then it will decide if it writes that entry for you, like saying the number 20 goes to the owner that just sent the transaction. That's how minting works. Mm-hmm. What tools for creating a smart contract for non-coders can you recommend? Of course, that's Studio 721 that I posted, but I'll just post another link here, which is Open Zeppelin. This is more for developers, but you might have noticed that when I showed you all the code. Open Zeppelin. What a funny name, but what for crazy people. Open Zeppelin is building all the building blocks that all the people building NFTs are using. Everybody's using Open Zeppelin contracts. Now, this is a little bit high level already because they assume that you're a developer, but you can learn a lot from their blog posts. Open Zeppelin is the building block provider. Rob's Roy, what's the best hackathon? ETH Online 21 has been a great hackathon. I was one of the finalists. But upcoming, let me think. I mean, ETH Denver is just running, which I guess is awesome, but I'm not on it, unfortunately. There's the DAppCon coming up in Berlin, announced today. DAppCon has been, I don't know, is this Diffusion? I think it was Diffusion that is hosting that. It has been a crazy experience being there in 2019. It has happened in Factory 2 here at Görlitzer Park somewhere. Go there. DAppCon is the place to go in Berlin. This is so crazy good. And it's a hackathon. So anything else that I haven't answered yet? What's your preferred blockchain layer 2 solution for minting NFTs on Polygon, Ethereum, Solana? So Ethereum is layer 1, obviously, but yeah. So Polygon is more than the Polygon network. Polygon is an initiative to build blockchain technology, just as Polkadot is, or the Web3 Foundation. But Polygon is definitely currently winning the game because everybody jumped on it. So this has most of the secondary NFT space on it. I currently would vote for Polygon at the moment. But me myself, I'm very much interested in all those ZK zero knowledge layer 2s like Arbitrum, Optimism, or also Polygon Hermes, for example, ZK Sync. Those are the technologies that will make everything cheap, really decentralized, and provable. This is not really ready for showtime yet. I'd say it's working very fine. People are using it, but it's really hard to bridge things between zero knowledge layer 2s and the mainnet. This is why Polygon for us developers is definitely much simpler. Solana is not layer 2. Solana is a layer 1 blockchain, which is extremely fast. And from a decentralized perspective, it's debatable if this is already very decentralized, but they're on a really good way. I really love the proposition, how they solve their problems, but I can tell you they are very, very close to the edge of what's possible physically. This is why Solana has a big question mark in my perspective, if this is really going to work out at that scale. I'm not exactly sure, but definitely have a look at them. They are really important. But in Solana, it's much harder to write those smart contracts. The language that you just have witnessed, where I've written all the stuff in, is called Solidity. And Solidity has been invented by Gavin Wood, so one of the founders of Ethereum back in 2015-16. And Solidity, it's not really a nice language, but you might have noticed you can read it more or less, right? I don't know, you're not developers maybe, but it's quite understandable. You see what's going on there. And I can assure you, on Rust, you don't. Rust is really a hardcore programming languages. This has been invented for a totally different use case. It's extremely fast. It compiles to extremely fast code, but it's from my perspective, it's really a bad language for smart contracts, because smart contracts really are meant to be read by humans. And this is why I don't like this Rust. It's not really restricted to Rust in that sense, but currently you have to use Rust to write smart contracts on Solana. And this is why I don't really like it, because you cannot explain to other people what's going on there. I know default XYZ. What's my opinion? I cannot remember what it was. If you want to, maybe I open the link while I'm talking. What do you think about Moralis? Moralis, I always decided against it when going to hackathons, but I can tell you, if you are not really a hardcore developer as I am, and you want to get started, Moralis get you started in seconds. But they're offering lots of APIs that take away this decentralized aspect of it. So this is also not true. They're also offering lots of tools that you can use to write decentralized software. But their proposition hackathons usually just use or their proposition on hackathons is that they just say, use our APIs and you're done, which is right. But it's it's a trade-off you take there. The guy who's presenting at Moralis, I don't know his name now, but watch his YouTube videos. He's one of the funniest presenters I've ever seen. Really can recommend their intros on Ethereum and Solidity. This is really great stuff. Manifold. What is that? I mean, the trade-off. It's building blocks. No, as I said, there are APIs that allow you to interact with nodes from Moralis, which is good, because if you use MetaMask, you will also interact with Infura nodes, secret toll, right? So nobody's usually using a blockchain on his own machine. But Moralis is some company somewhere, I don't know, Eastern Europe, I guess, which is okay. Infura is another company in California, or wherever they are, I don't know. But I personally decided to trust Infura more than I trust Moralis. And Moralis is giving me so much convenience that I don't really know what's under the hood. And since I know what's going on under the hood and I know all the other tools, I'm totally fine with doing it on my own. But as I said, for a beginner, Moralis is definitely one way you could go. Oh yeah, exactly. This is why I started. Thank you. So Ben Rollins says Manifold is a smart contract for non-developers. You create contracts there and can integrate them in platforms like OpenSea and so on. Exactly. This is it's more visual. I think I don't know when I stumbled upon them. I don't have an opinion. I must say that I don't have an opinion, but I guess they're great. Are they also based on Ethereum? I guess Manifold for developers. Yeah. I mean, there are others. There's even this one, like Zora. This is something that I like. They have a very, very, very bold proposition on ERC 721. They said, let's build a marketplace that's built into the standard, which is crazy, right? And this is what I'm going after at the moment when thinking about smart contract NFT automation. But Manifold maybe has also a very good point. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Last question, guys. We can continue to dive more into the topic at the roundtable, which is good. Exactly. If somebody has something, this is the last one. Becca, maybe. Yeah, Manifold might be great. I've seen them on Twitter all the time. So my Twitter timeline is full of Manifold stuff.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that was great closing remarks. I'll check out Manifold as well. Thank you so much, Stefan, for sharing with us.
It was a pleasure.
in-depth info on NFTs and how smart contracts work. We'd be really happy if you can just stay around for the roundtable, which is going to be in like half an hour, just to discuss additional questions. And I don't know if anyone has any questions in the future. Can they find you somewhere? How could they reach out to you? What are your availability?
So first of all, yeah, absolutely. So you see my nickname here is El Mariachi. I told you why this is El Mariachi, but if you click on it, I think you should see my details. Exactly. You can find me on Twitter, on GitHub, on Medium, on GetSplice. Oh, really great. Anyway, also on LinkedIn. Just use my real name, which is Stefan Adolf. You might have seen that on the presentation, but you'll find me anywhere. Just hit me up there. I got a Calendly running, so if you want to talk with me privately because of your idea or something, just pick a coffee slot or something, 30 minutes. I'm open to chat.
Amazing. Cool. Thank you so much again for taking your time and telling us a bit about NFTs and smart contracts. Definitely learned a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is our bi-weekly showcase, community showcase. We have actually 4 projects presenting today. The first one is gonna be Trist, and I would like to ask all everyone here who's on the speaker stage to find Trist, again playing this Where is Waldo game, and invite him or her to the stage. Oh, actually, I think I found Trist. All right, we've invited you to speak. There's a button on the bottom of your screen if you're on the desktop, which you can press, and then you will be up here with us. It's on the bottom, right, guys? As if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the problem? Because we do have this, right? Every other week, someone cannot join us on the stage.
Yeah, maybe
and then...
Becca, you had the same problem, or?
Who, me?
Becca.
Becca.
Yeah. No, I had some technical difficulties on an iPad, but I
What did you
downloaded
solve this?
Zoom. I downloaded Zoom on my phone, so I watched the
No,
presentation on my phone.
not Zoom. Do you mean we talk about Discord, the invite to speak button?
Oh, no, I didn't have any issues with that. Or on Discord? Or on Twitter, you mean?
Was it on Twitter?
I had a lot of issues on Twitter.
Maybe
on our.
Maybe we start with the next one and then.
Yeah, let's do. He said he's gonna reconnect and try it again. So next up is Una Flux, and I see. Okay, invited to stage. Could it be that only 7 people can speak at the same time? No,
I think it's fine. I managed to connect. There was a little.
You can remove me. Actually, I'll just have a cigarette.
Right. So thank you so much for having me, and thanks to El Mariachi. Actually, that was very, very insightful. My name is Celine. I'm a fashion designer. I live between Paris and Berlin, but my heart is and will always be in Berlin. So much so that the project I'm pitching today is inspired by Berlin, and more specifically, it's Once Upon a Time Now, Thriving Clubbing Culture. It's the Buzz of Berlin as a play on words with the symbol of the city and, well, a certain type of party goers. It's not going to be just a collection of profile pics. I wanted to reach like a full universe of bears, with the final aim being a play-to-earn NFT game on the Polygon blockchain with its own cryptocurrency and financial ecosystem. The game part is inspired by the famous Wolf game, if you've heard of it, in which you stake your NFT to produce a coin, but there are risks in doing so. So I'm going to walk you through quickly the roadmap. Actually, I'm going to add it to the whiteboard as well, so you can follow with 2 weeks. There will be a drop of what I call the Genesis collection. It's they call the Pixel Bears of Berlin, and minters of that collection will be mailed physical artwork, and they have access to a special kind of alpha group within the ecosystem. Sometime after that, there will be a second drop of what I call magic pills available only to those first minters. And what is going to happen is that you'll be able to burn those pills to create the actual Bears of Berlin, which are the NFT needed to play the game. There will also be a public sale as well later, at the same time, for other people who've missed on the first steps to be able to get their own Bears of Berlin. And the game itself will be called, or is called, Club Bears versus Bouncers, because 90% of the Bears of Berlin are club bears and 10% bouncer bears. And the concept of the game is that they're fighting over a token called, no puns intended, pills. To keep it simple, you stake your NFT in exchange for pills with a risk mechanic. So sort of like you want to claim your pills and you would be taxed by the bounce bears. And if you want to unstake, then there is a risk that you will actually lose all of your pills that you've collected over time. And with this token, the pills, you'll be able to claim rare NFTs that I will be creating, thanks to the Bear Universe merch, possibly invites to events, and it will potentially be also in the near future exchangeable for other coins via SushiSwap or Uniswap. So that was kind of a very fast go through what I'm aiming to do with the project. It's still the very beginning because we haven't really launched the Genesis collection, but that's going to be very soon. So that's that. I hope I haven't really confused the hell out of you with the game mechanics, but you're all welcome to read through the roadmap I've attached in the whiteboard and join the Discord, which I will be sharing in a moment as well. There you go.
All right, amazing. Thank you. So you said you're going to share it with us on the whiteboard, right? The link to your project and everything. Cool.
I'm doing that as well. If anyone has any questions, I will stick around, of course, for the roundtable. I mean, this was a very fast sort of explanation, but there is more on the Discord and with the utility, the tokens, the tokenomics, how it's going to work. There's a whole storyline that I'm planning to, develop and launch.
Great. All right. Thank you, Uniflux, for sharing your project. It's super exciting. And now I'll try to. Cool. And Trist, you were able to connect. Great.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. It's a cool place you have to hang out. I was invited by one of our community members to check out NFT Club Berlin, and I'm very happy I found this. Yeah, and very excited to present our project to you guys. I will post just for the beginning one little flyer into this whiteboard channel. You should see now, this is how it started. So this is our NFT project called Greedygrams, starting out last year, when we were invited to the Art Basel week in Miami, and this was kind of exciting. I see the Berlin Bear, people still cheering for the Berlin Bears. Yes, great concept. I like it too, especially the pills. So here's the Greedygrams at Art Basel, and this was very exciting for me because I came into the project at that time. They were looking for somebody doing press releases and setting up a Discord server, so I joined them. And within a few weeks, the thing exploded. We got approached by art galleries and another blockchain conference in Abu Dhabi, where we have been. And the thing is that the artwork we're presenting this narrative of a Gramp that made it in his earlier days and now is living his best life as an old Gramp, successful Gramp. And this is somehow how we got the attention of the people we wanted. But what we are actually doing with the project is we use the pop culture